Hello everybody, it's Kate the West Coast Paper Crafter. You are joining me for Amber Autumn Card Class at Home project number 2. It is Thursday, October 2nd. Thursday, October 2nd, 7 p.m. Pacific time if you are catching this live on Facebook. Now I am flustered, friends. I literally just got in the door less than 10 minutes ago from work. There was an accident that shut the highway down, so I was stuck at work much longer than usual. And as soon as that highway reopened, I jumped in my car and tried to make my way home, but it was really slow going. So anyway, I'm here, but I'm only I don't know. I'm here, but I'm not really here because that was a rush. So today is a big day. It's my anniversary. So I almost forgot this morning when I woke up. But yes, it is my anniversary, me and my husband. So after this live, we're probably just going to have a little bit of quiet time and chill out because we haven't seen each other all day. I'm seeing some of you tuning in. Hello, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Kate. I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Canada on Vancouver Island. I am a part-time paper crafter because I have a full-time job and I juggle all the things because I have a family and yeah, I'm busy. But I really enjoy crafting because it's such a great stress relief. So let's get started tonight with project number 2. We're going to do a pocket fold card. So if you are crafting along, you're going to need your paper trimmer. Now I'm going to flip this camera around. It's going to be a little bit bumpy, so close your eyes if you get dizzy. All right, so tonight using the Amber Autumn stamp set and the dies, and I'm going to show you how you can color your images with your ink pads and your blender pen in case you've never seen it done before. So it's a really simple way to color your images in. Carissa, hello. Connie, good evening to you. Kate, Christine, I'm excited. I signed up for Christine's email today. All right, now, excuse me, let's go over the measurements. So full disclosure, because I'm completely flustered and I just got in the door a few minutes ago, there might be some smudges and mistakes tonight, but I'm going to try not to lead you guys astray. All right. So to start out, I've got a piece of Mossy Meadow. Now this is just 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I have got a piece of Crumb Cake. This is 3 1/2 inches by 5 1/8. A piece of white that's 3 3/8 by 5 inches, and then a piece of the Autumn Toile, I think that's the name of it, designer series paper, which is 4 1/8 by 6. And then I just have this shape cut out from the nested essential dies. Now, if you don't have this set of dies, you can just cut a piece of basic white paper to 2 1/2 by 1 7/8. Hello, Teresa. Thank you. It was funny because when I talked to my husband from work today, I said we talked about picking up some takeout because I work in the city. We have lots of options, right? And I said I'd call him when I was getting off work and we'd talk about takeout. Well, takeout didn't happen, friends. Takeout did not happen. All right, if you're crafting along, grab your scoring tool. I'm going to use Stampin' Up's paper trimmer because it scores and cuts. How handy is that? And we're going to take our piece of designer series paper that's 4 1/8 by 6, and we're going to score it on the long side at 1 1/2 inches at the top of your paper. So if your paper is directional, you want that score line to be at the top. All right, now I'm just going to flip this over. I know, just double checking because I don't want to mess it up. Hello, Jackie. Hello, Susan. This way's up. I'm going to score at 1 1/2. Double check that my cutting blade's out of the way because it could be one of those days. And I'm just going to score. Now, when you score designer series paper, it's thinner than cardstock, so you just want to be gentle so you don't rip that paper. Now, the reason I turned the designer series paper over to score it was because I wanted Oh, did I do it backwards? I might have done it backwards. Never mind. Never mind. No, I didn't. Okay. I turned it over because, and you won't be able to tell because the paper is just too dark, but where I scored it, because I turned it over, my score line, the raised bump is on this side, and I'm folding the paper in this way. So I just wanted the raised bump on this side because your paper fibers are a little bit stronger if you fold on the bump versus folding on that indent on the score line. Now, it's not going to make or break your project, right? It's just a simple little trick. So just a simple little trick. Hello, Kathy. Hello, Belinda. Now, this is going to get glued down onto the Mossy Meadow, and we're going to glue it down on the sides and the bottom, leaving the top open to create the pocket of our card. Before I glue it down, I'm going to add a little bit of ribbon to this flap and maybe glue the flap down so it's not bouncing around. Hey Jackie, thanks for tuning in. It's nice to see you in the comments. All right, now bear with me because I might be missing some things tonight. Usually when I do a live, I putter on up to my craft room about half an hour before the live starts, and I get everything ready and get all my stamps mounted, make sure my Facebook's working. I do all the things, right? And I wasn't sure I was even going to make it home on time, so I was debating my options, but I made it. Now, I don't know where my take your pick tool is. Oh, here it is. All right, so I've just added some tear and tape to the edges, and that's going to catch my ribbon. And I am using the Irregular weave trim that comes in the Autumn Toile suite, and I'm just adding it to the front. Am I doing that right? Yes, to the front of the flap, kind of in the middle. I'm eyeballing it. It might not be perfect, but tear and tape's pretty forgiving, so if I need to adjust it, then I'm just going to pick it up gently, and that tear and tape will release the ribbon. All right, so now I have it in the middle, and I'll add a little bit of glue, and I'm just going to glue this flap down. Now, you might not want to glue your flap down. You might want to pop it up with dimensionals, and that's totally fine. My glue is clogged. Of course, my glue is clogged. And that's another thing I usually do before my live starts is I make sure my glues are unclogged. I got one more I'm going to try. And if this doesn't work, then, you know, I know how to unclog my glue. So let's see. Oh, there we go. See, 3 bottles of glue, one's behaving. Hello, Gina. Hello, Jean and Marion. You're not late. You're just getting started. Hello, Lavira Banks. Your first time watching. Well, welcome. Welcome. I hope you enjoy. We are making, for those of you tuning in just a little tiny bit late, we're making a pocket card. So I just scored some designer series paper, very simple score line at 1.5. Now I folded it down so we get to see both sides of the paper, which is nice, right? Yeah, I know, Kathy. Yay for my glue working indeed. So now this is the trickiest part of this particular pocket fold is gluing down the sides and the bottom. So what you want to do is a very, very thin bead of glue on the edges and the bottom of this designer series paper. So you want to put a very thin bead of glue as close to the edge as you can get without making a ridiculous mess. Like so. I'm not perfect, but it'll do. And the reason you want to do a very thin layer of glue right along the edges is because we need room for the card to slide into the pocket, right? So if you have over glued, and I may have, I don't think I did, but if I did, if you over glue, all you're going to need to do is trim down the inside pieces so they're going to fit in the card. So I'm just going to leave that for now, but I've got a little pocket here. I'm going to let that set. And while that's setting, I've got a scrap piece of paper and I'm going to stamp the acorns and the leaves in Tuxedo black, just on this scrap paper. All right, let's see, I'm just catching up. I think I'm missing some comments. I'm sorry, guys. All right, so I've got my black ink. I'm just going to ink it up. Now, with bigger stamps, I like to go ink pad to stamp. Just my personal preference. I think it works a little bit better for me, but maybe that's not your thing, and that's totally okay. All right, I'm just going to give my stamp a quick clean because I'm going to use it again, but in a different color. So I've got a chamois from Stampin' Up. I know it looks terrible. When I first got it, it was a beautiful shade of purple, and now it's completely stained. But I'm sure if any of you have chamois, they're probably all looking pretty similar. Hi, Leanne. Nice to see you. All right, so now what we're going to do is color in these images using our ink pads and blending pen. So I've just got a blender pen from Stampin' Up. I don't know what's inside it. Some sort of magic formula. I could Google it and find out. Now, there's two ways to pick up ink when you're going to use your blender pen. I'm going to show you the first way with the pecan pie, and I've showed this before. So if you're new, this might be, maybe you've never seen this before, but if you gently squeeze the case so it flexes a little bit. Now just be careful, not too much squeeze. You don't want to crack your case. You just need to let that plastic or feel that plastic flex. And then it's going to smoosh a little bit of ink into your case, right? So I'm going to use this ink to start coloring in part of the acorn. Now I won't do the entire image because I'll be keeping you guys too long. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure I don't have any leftover color on my blender pen. I'm just going to scribble on an area of that white paper, make sure no color is coming off. Then I'm going to pick up the ink, just adding the ink to the tip of the blender pen, and then it acts like a little fancy magic coloring tool. So if you're first starting out with stamping and you have limited supplies, or you don't want to invest a whole bunch of money in Stampin' Blends, which are alcohol markers or other coloring tools, then just pop a set of the blender pens in your cart and you can use your ink pads. So I'm just picking up more color as I need it. If I want it to be darker, I'm just going to pick up a fresh little bit of color and then color that in. And as I color out, the ink lightens. So you can do shading this way as well if you're just strategic about where you're adding more ink, right? All right, so like I said, I won't do all of it, but here's how it looks so far with Pecan Pie and the blender pen. Now I don't even need to change this blender pen when I switch colors. All I'm going to do is I'm going to just gently scribble the edge until all that ink comes off. So here you can see the ink's coming off and then it's clear. So now I know I can use this again. Hello, Kathy. Thanks for tuning in. Now, I've got a second color for the acorns and crumb cake. So you can squish, as you can see, I've squished mine before. So you can squish, or what you can do if you don't want to mess around with squishing is just take a block and pick up some ink on your block like that. And you can use that instead of squishing your ink pad. It's that simple, right? So you just do whatever works best for you. Make sure I'm in the camera view. So I'm just going to go along this acorn where the stamp has got the lines in the acorn already. That shows me where the shading is. So I'm just going to pick up my ink and I'm going to shade in those areas that are already highlighted for me because they're little black lines showing me this where the shadows are. I'm just going to do that in my darker ink. And then I will just color over it and let that blender pen lighten up as I go over the whole area. Now do be careful though, because if you oversaturate, your paper is going to fray a little bit. So if you need to add more color, you might want to just give it a, whoops, I rocked the camera. You might want to give it a second to dry before you apply more, right? Just in case, because it can fray if you're pretty heavy-handed. Now the third color I'm going to use is Calypso Coral for the leaves. And then I'm just going to pick up a little bit of ink with the other side of this block, only because I'm a little bit too lazy to clean it off. It's been that kind of day. All right, so now I'm going to pick up some Calypso Coral ink, and I'm just going to go along where I want my leaf to be the darkest while I have the fresh ink on my blender pen. And then I'll just color that in while the blender pen gets a little bit lighter. And if I need more color, I'll just pick it up and then go over those areas that need a little bit more, right? So my honest opinion about coloring with blender pens, it's a little bit time consuming because you're constantly picking up ink. But, oh, and it's not necessarily as smooth as if you were using the alcohol markers, right? But it still does a pretty decent job, and it is way more economical than purchasing Stamp and Blend. So this is perfect, honestly, if you're just starting out or you don't have any interest in investing in alcohol markers or more expensive coloring tools. So here's the image that I went ahead and I did the night before. I've already die cut it, and I've done this in the exact same color as I just demonstrated, the pecan pie for the top of the acorn, crumb cake for the body, and then I use the Calypso Coral for the leaf. Now, I wish I would have kept out my comparison, because I did have some samples where I did with blends and watercolor pencils in this, but I don't know where it is in my mess right now. It's somewhere in the abyss. Okay, so let's do a little bit more stamping, and then we're going to put this pocket card together, and it comes together really quick. So I just want to grab my early espresso. Now this white piece is going to be for the inside of the card. I'm going to add some acorns in the corner, and then I'm going to put the leaves right in the top. So that's just going to be for the inside of the card, so it's not naked. And I'm going to do the same thing on this die cut that I'm going to use for my sentiment, but I'm taking this early espresso ink and I'm stamping off, and then I'm going to add some leaves to the side, and it's going to be just a little bit lighter than my sentiment. Now, early espresso is a dark color, so I may have regrets. We'll see. Maybe I didn't think this through. Now, if you want, you can add more color to your leaves, or you can leave them just the way they are. I'm going to leave them. Now, I've got a sentiment from the Amber Autumn stamp set. I'm going to try to line it up so it's not crooked. Oh, shoot. So my thoughts are perhaps the early espresso in first generation on second generation is it's just a little bit too dark still, but it's just paper, right? So I'm going to flip it around. And I'm going to do it all over again. And this time I'm just going to use my crumb cake, I think, and leave a little bit lighter. All right. I also could have maybe done the sentiment in a black ink, perhaps, but I didn't think that through. All right, I'm still going to stamp off on the crumb cake because I do not want the sentiment to be overpowered, right? And it almost is, but I'm going for it. It's too late. I've committed. All right, you do not have to do what I'm doing if you don't like the colors I'm choosing, right? because at this moment right now, I'm not loving it, but I like it enough. So just comparing it, this to me, in my opinion, is just, they're just, the dark colors just compete, and then that sentiment doesn't pop out as well. This one, it pops out a bit more, but I do think, just in my opinion, that I should have thought this through a little bit better because there's too much competition happening. That's okay. It'll be okay. It's just paper. It's just a handmade card, right? So now what I'm going to do is glue this basic white down to the crumb cake. And this is going to be for the inside of the card. Oh, my glue gave up on me. That's okay. I've got this handy little tape runner. I've got pieces of the outside stuck in my tape runner. Oh yeah, I don't even know how that got in there. What's happening? Okay, I'm just going to use this little tape runner. It's noisy, I'm sorry, but it's so handy, especially when my glue's all clogged up. I mean, it's simple enough to unclog my glue, right? I just got to find my little paper clip, which is probably right in front of me. Yes, it is. It's right there. All right, so now this is glued down. You can see I've smudged. So now you know it's a cake card, and this fits right into that pocket of the card. So if by chance you have a little bit too much glue and this piece doesn't slide in, you just might want to trim that down a little bit and fix that problem. All right, now let's put this card together. So I'm going to pop this up right in the middle, actually. Maybe. Let me think about it. Maybe not. It might be off to the side because I still have to add this piece. Yes, off to the side. Then I'm going to add the acorns and the leaves. I've got a little bit of greenery cut out, Mossy Meadow. This is just from the Amber Autumn die cuts. And then this piece, same thing. It's from the Amber Autumn die cuts, but I cut this out of the Earthen toned specialty designer series paper. Hi, Dimity. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, Kathy said she heard someone make a boo-boo and say I'm not Hallmark. I'm going to steal that, Kathy. That's funny. We all know I'm definitely not Hallmark. Where's Carissa? Right now she should be saying world's okayest crafter. Carissa, come on. I was waiting for it. All right, so I'm just going to pop some dimensionals on this sentiment piece, and I'm going to stick it on the fold of the card, just to the right edge, so I've got some room to put my acorns and leaves down. And I'm going to pop these up as well. So I know that I'm going to place it right about here, so I'm not putting a dimensional here, but I'll put dimensionals around the outer edges, and then just a tiny little bit of glue if I want. I'll do that right now so I don't forget. And then that'll stick down to the sentiment piece that's popped up, and it won't be flying around. Not like it will. I don't think it's going to fly around, but I do like to make sure my pieces are nice and stuck down on my cards. I don't like my pieces sagging, and I don't want them to flop around, if that makes any sense, right? It has been a really exciting couple days. Stampin' Up! Has an excellent joining special this month, and it started yesterday. If you're in Canada, you can join Stampin' Up! For as little as $48 and pick yourself out $168 in products. So it's a pretty sweet deal. If you're looking to save yourself some money, if you want to have a little side business as a demonstrator, or if you are wanting to be a hobby demonstrator and just join up for your personal use and get a discount. So pretty handy. There's no strings attached when you sign up. Don't mind me. I'm just debating what my options are for unclogging my glue. I had my little sticky paper clip, and then I lost it. I must have something else in my mess of things to unclog my glue. All right, I'm going to use glue. Oh no. Oh, whew, I thought I lost my leaf. I'm going to use glue because it's going to be a little bit easier to work with. I put a little bit too much down there right now. So yes, joining special. It was a really good deal. So it was an exciting couple days because my team exploded yesterday and today. I've got quite a few new people on my team. Well, not necessarily new. I've got lots of people that came back to my team. So I'm super happy about that because we are a fun little crafting community. So I'm very glad to have some friends back. And I've got some brand new people that joined up as well. So it's kind of an exciting time. And with this joining offer, if you wanted to stay active as a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, then you do need to make some minimum sales, either personal sales or selling to customers. But Stampin' Up! Gives everybody a grace period. So no matter what you do, whether you're just joining up for your own discount, or if you wanted to sell Stampin' Up! And make a commission, you don't have to worry about anything for 6 months. So it's a really good deal. Super cheap joining special, and you don't have any pressure to do anything if you don't want to, and you're going to be able to take advantage of your own 20% discount for the next 6 months. So pretty sweet deal. So in Canada, again, you can sign up for $48 and pick $165 in anything you want as your starter kit, except for Paper Pumpkin subscriptions or prepaid subscriptions. Or alternatively, you can join up for $135 and choose $252 in goodies. So this time of year, I lose a lot of my customers because I can't tell you in good conscience to keep buying directly from me when you can sign up and get such a good deal and buy from yourself and save yourself some money, right? I mean, it feels like a no-brainer. So if you're my customer, don't be surprised if you try to put in an order with me. If you talk to me about it before you put that order in, I'm going to say, are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure? Because you might want to just get a starter kit and do it for yourself. Yeah, Carissa, I am the world's okayest crafter. All right, this card is done, friends. So I added the die cuts just underneath the sentiment, so they're popping up just on the edge of the pop-out card. I threw in some streaked dots to give it a little more visual interest, and here's your card. It's just going to slide right in and out of your pocket with maybe a little bit of wiggling, since it's a fairly snug fit, right? But this card is not going to go anywhere. So that is project number 2. I have no idea what I did with our first project. I do like to do a little recap, but of course, you have to bear with me because I wasn't prepared. And this was the one that I had done as a sample card last night. So the difference is the sentiment die cut is a little bit smaller, and I colored in the leaves around there. And I actually like this one a little bit better, less leaves with the pop of color. Then I like the sentiment stamped over the Crumb Cake second generation stamping. But I don't know, you guys will have to decide. Oh, and we can compare because I did color this one in with Stampin' Blends, and then this one is with the blender pen and the ink. So you can see the difference, right? And what I see is that the Stampin' Blends alcohol markers are just a little bit smoother, where the blender pens, the color's not quite blended through. But I do think that they both do a pretty good job, and the blender pen is definitely going to be the cheaper route if you're just starting out, or if you don't have any interest in purchasing all the colors in Stampin' Blends like some of us have done. Some of us meaning me. I'm going to flip the camera around. Yes, it's true. I have bought all the colors in the Stampin' Blends. I'm not proud of it, friends. but I have. So I do love my collection. All right, I'm so happy you guys tuned in. I'm sorry I'm a little bit out of sorts today, but usually I have a bit more time to get myself ready before I do a live. But I'm glad I'm home. I'm going to chill out and spend some time with my husband now. I will be back live Monday evening with a new card. And I think, let me grab it. I think we'll use the Happy Place. Look at this stamp set. Now, this tells me I'm going to need my sponge daubers, and we're going to do a few different colors right on this stamp set. Now, this is perfect for Stampin' Write markers, but Stampin' Up! Is discontinuing them. So if you want Stampin' Write markers, they are in the last chance list for Stampin' Up! I looked this morning, they were still there. You can actually apply ink directly to the red rubber stamps. We call them cling stamps. You can apply ink with the Stampin' Write marker directly to these stamps, and then you just kind of huff on them a little bit after you've applied the ink to re-moisten the ink. And by huff, I mean you breathe on it like that probably looks ridiculous, but you huff on the stamp, it re-moistens the ink that you've applied, you stamp it down, and then you're able to easily add multiple colors to the stamp set. But that is, with the Stampin' Write markers, they're discontinuing the red rubber cling stamps, and as such, they're getting rid of the Stampin' Write markers because they were, one of their primary purposes was to color your red rubber cling stamps with. So if you didn't know that and you got some Stampin' Write markers, give it a try. It doesn't work with photopolymer. At least if it does work, it's not going to work very well. But if you've got some of the cling stamps and you got some Stampin' Write markers, give it a try. When I'm telling you, color the stamp in, breathe on it with a little huff before you stamp, and easy peasy, you can add multiple colors. But cling stamps are going to be out. I'm not sure how I feel about that, actually. I do really like them. And then when I was reaching for that, I did see Project One way over here. So this was Project One that we had done last Thursday. Easy, very simple. We just made our own background with some stamping, Crumb Cake cardstock with early espresso ink. Project number 1. Project number 2. Project 3 is coming next Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific time. I don't know what it's going to be yet because I haven't designed it yet. Same with Monday. I just know what stamps that I'm going to use. So thanks everybody for tuning in. If you're from Canada and you are interested in joining my team, then please reach out and send me a message because it can be as big as we want it to be. It's already pretty big and we're a pretty fun group. So it's kind of exciting. If you're on my team and you're watching this, invite your friends to join. All right, invite your friends to join because it's such a good deal. No strings attached. They can just stick around for 6 months and see if they like it, see if they're interested in Stampin' Up! Or being a demonstrator or whatever you want to do with it, whether it's for your own personal use or if you want to share it with others. It's just a really good time to share because it's really low risk because it's so cheap. But they are going to ask you for your social insurance number when you sign up. And if you're asking me why, it's because Stampin' Up! Is a direct sales company and you have the potential to earn an income. Therefore, they need your SIN number because perhaps you're going to be a superstar and sell a bunch of stuff and make a bunch of commissions. And then they're going to want to send you a tax form. I can't remember what it's called. Thanks, Krista. I love you too, you weirdo. I love you too. But don't be afraid by that because I've been doing this for a while and trust me, the income tax men are not coming for me yet. Yet. But I do keep track just in case. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Like I said, if you have any questions, please reach out. If you're local to me, I do have an in-person class coming October 18th. It is over half full. So if you're on the fence or if you just haven't registered yet, you might want to do that because I only have a set amount of spaces. All right. Thanks for tuning in. And if you make tonight's card, share a photo. I'm going to post a photo in Facebook a little bit later. If you want to share what you made, I'd love to see it. You do not have to use what I use whatever you have in your stash. And have a very good night.